I just want to speak about the topic of plausible deniability a little bit and proof. Um, I've made claims, that I can't necessarily prove. Like, for example, if there are people, like a large group of people or a huge number of people, like everybody just being really rude or talking trash or gossiping, or, for example, traffic, like when everybody's driving at like 60 miles an hour on the highway for no apparent reason, and then you get beside them, you go to pass them and everybody speeds up, and it's like, okay, that's just human nature, or the human condition. um, People are inconsiderate, and that's just the way that people are. So if you see it happening all the time around you, like every 2 seconds, it's kind of hard to convince somebody of that. Like if I was trying to explain to somebody like the things that go on, it's kind of hard, and I wouldn't believe somebody necessarily unless I trusted them and I was going to just take their word for it. But if you start trying to explain to somebody how these things are happening or whatever, and how it's everybody or how it's every other person you come in contact with, and it happens so often that it can't be a coincidence, they're not really trying to hear that, and they'll use plausible deniability, even though they don't know that that's even what it's called. But they'll use that as an excuse, and they'll try to tell you, oh, well, people just drive bad. That's just how people are. Or, people are they're just rude. Let's get over it. But you try to explain to them, no, it's not just because people are rude or people just drive bad. Like that's not the case. But they're not trying to hear that. Um, but they would want me or you to believe them if they were trying to explain something like that to us. So as far as proving things goes, I'm not really trying to prove anything anymore. I was trying to prove it to myself, just to convince myself I wasn't crazy or find out if I was. But now, like, when I do something like set up a camera to, like a surveillance camera or something, or I audio record, it's more of a deterrent to just be like, hey, if you do whatever, I'm going to catch it and I'm going to have evidence. But even if I did, once or twice or 30 times, that's not really going to prove anything, because then still you got the plausible deniability. People will be like, oh, well, so that happened one time or twice, big deal. And you're like, no, those were just the only times I caught it. But the law and courts, traditionally, it's always, there's the idea, innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the reason it's beyond a reasonable doubt is in there is because, you can't really prove anything completely. You can't make somebody believe something. People have a free will and they can basically choose what they want to believe. I always use Jamaica as an example. All right, say you were ignorant and you didn't want to believe that Jamaica existed for whatever reason. You were in denial of the fact that Jamaica exists. Well, I have a friend who lives there on Facebook, and he said, he's like, yeah, I live in Jamaica. I could just say, oh, well, yeah, sure you do. Like I'm going to believe that Jamaica doesn't exist. How can you live there? And he could be like, well, here's pictures of it. And he could send me some pictures of, the beach and whatever, the trees and stuff. And I could just say, oh, well, those are photoshopped. Or a more simple explanation, those are just pictures of the Bahamas or something, All right, we'll say, okay, it's on a map. You could show somebody on a map. Well, that's a drawing. A map is just a drawing, Or say if somebody flew over it or cruised by it on a cruise ship, you could just say, well, for one, that's a witness. You could say, I don't believe you because I've never seen it. I've never flown over it. But that's, or you could say, oh, well, that was probably another island, but that's ignorance is what that is. At a certain point, it has to be enough evidence to where you say, okay, yeah, all right, I'll believe you, Jamaica exists. Because you've seen all this evidence, and it's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, because it's not reasonable to say that somebody would be making all that crap up for no reason. Make sense? So, that's the problem with proof. Nothing can be proven. We choose what we believe. We have free will. So, for example, with what I'm calling an assassination attempt, I don't think that the lady necessarily, jerked the wheel to the right, but, intentionally anyway. But she did jerk the wheel to the right. That's a fact. And I'm not just stuck on that. It's not that I can't get over it. I'm just using that as an example. Because people always say, oh, well, if you're targeted or something, or you're gang stalked, people aren't going to just come up and try to kill you or whatever. Or they're not going to, they're going to try to make you do something out of character or make you commit suicide or something. Well, that's true for the most part. But from my experience, and considering the fact I believe that a lot of it's demonic, one way or another, it's all demonic. So, it's, if you say it's CIA people or ex-military or it's the cops or something, well, it's still demonic. It's demonic influence that influences people to do those things. And I believe that, kind of like people speaking in tongues and people getting possessed, that somebody who's got a door open, who's not a perfect person, which I think is fair to say would be most of us, could have something or somebody influence them to jerk their arm like that or something like they wouldn't normally do. And I've had an experience like that myself. I've had plenty of experiences like that. And I'll just give you an example. Our lungs, when we breathe, during the day, say the doctor says take a deep breath, you can control your lungs to take a deep breath. Now say you're asleep, you're going to keep breathing automatically. You don't have to think about breathing while you're asleep. So that's just one example of muscles that can be voluntary or involuntary. So I'm about to show this TED Talk clip. I'm going to play this clip that shows how via technology, one person can control another person's arm. And we all know that things go from being wired to wireless. That's just how it's pretty much always been. You got telephones, wireless telephones, and you got mobile phones, and you got internet with the LAN, and then you have WAN, you got wireless networks, you got Wi-Fi. Everything, goes from wired to wireless. Now we even have wireless charging for our phones and stuff. And don't get me started on that. But I'm just saying, I don't see how it could be too hard to believe that something like this, that's wired technology, could become wireless. And we all know that the government is a lot further ahead than we are, or the government, as I like to call it. Alright, I'm just getting tired of holding this up too long. I'm just saying, I think that this technology could very well already be wireless. And so without further ado, here's the clip that I'm going to show for educational purposes only. And with that, y'all be blessed.
So now I want you to squeeze. Yeah, so right here, these are the motor units that are happening from her spinal cord out to her muscle right here. And as she's doing it, you're seeing the electrical activity that's happening here. We can even click here and try to see one of them. So keep doing it really, really hard. Yeah, so now we've paused on one motor action potential that's happening right now inside of your brain. Okay, do you guys want to see some more? All right. That's interesting, but let's get it better. Okay, I need one more volunteer. Okay, what is your name, sir? Miguel, all right. You're going to stand right here. So Miguel, when you're moving your arm like this, your brain is sending a signal down to your muscles right here. I want you to move your arm as well. All right, so your brain is going to send a signal down to your muscles. And so it turns out that there is a nerve that's right here that runs up here that innervates these three fingers. And it's close enough to the skin that we might be able to stimulate that, so that we can do is copy your brain signal that's going out to your hand and inject it into your hand so that your hand will move when your brain tells your hand to move. And so in a sense, she will take away your free will and you will no longer have any control over this hand, okay? You with me? All right, so I just need to hook you up. All right, so I'm going to find your ulnar nerve, which is probably right around here. You don't know what you're signing up for when you come up and... So now I'm going to move away and I'm going to plug it into our human-to-human interface over here. Okay, so Sam wants you to squeeze your hand again. All right. Do it again. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to hook you up over here so that you get the stimulus. It's going to feel a little bit weird at first. This is going to feel like a, when you lose your free will and someone else becomes your agent, it does feel a bit strange. So I want you to relax your hand. All right, and Sam, you're with me? All right, so you're gonna squeeze. I'm not going to turn it on yet, so go ahead and give it a squeeze. All right. So now, are you ready, Miguel?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, so I've turned it on. So go ahead and turn your hand. Do you feel that a little bit?
No.
Okay, do it again.
No, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay, so relax. No, hit it again. Okay. Oh, perfect. All right, so relax. Do it again. All right, so now. All right, so right now, your brain is controlling your arm, and it's also controlling his arm. So go ahead and just do it one more time. All right, so that's perfect. So now, what would happen if I took over my control of your hand? And so just relax your hand. What happens? Nothing. Why not? Because the brain has to do it. Now you do it again. All right, that's perfect. All right, well, thank you guys for being such a good sport. This is what's happening all across the world, electrophysiology, and we're going to bring on the neuro revolution. Thank you.